Imagineer, an animator, and probably the best guy at staging setup, so you could read them with your eyes. You didn't have to hear the dialogue, you didn't have to get the gags. Mark gave us, literally, you could paint a scene that knew everything you needed to know from his drawing. And if it animated, all the better, but it didn't need to. It was all there in the drawing. So we'll go on now. And this wonderful rendering was one of the few postcards that was ever made. I know Gary's here. They actually sold a postcard of a ride that never happened. The West River complex was quite ornate. It not only had the ride we're going to share with you today, but a lot of other rides on the surface of it, which I'll show you in a slide in a minute. But first, let's go on to look at another great player in this. This is an original Mary Blair. Mary and Mark, of course, worked together hand in hand on Small World, and they did likewise on this. Just look at that color. This was going to be a very stylized ride. It was on the scale of Pirates of the Caribbean, just like the pirate ride in the boat, but much more like Small World in terms of the outrageous theatricality that only Mary could bring to it. Another one of Mary's, if you go to the next slide, is stuck. Oh, there it is. This was the cavern scene, and of course there was an attraction here in the Nature's Wonderland show, Rainbow Caverns, that Mary had done a riff on. Let's imagine if this had actually happened. The next shot here is a model we found, and if you look closely at this, you can see a log flume ride, so there's the ancestor of Splash Mountain. There's also a train ride, which is the ancestor of Big Thunder Mountain. And Thunder Mesa was the complex itself, so when it was decided not to do the entire thing and build pirates instead for Florida, I took the word thunder and combined it with Big Thunder to create Big Thunder Mountain, which was part of this. There's also a maze, and the donkey, the mule ride, was on the top of that. So literally there were 5 attractions. And God only knows what that rainbow desert, the painted desert is at the top. I have no idea. We can't figure that one out. But I guess if you were in the Goodyear blimp, you could see that. So let's go down. Now this is an amazing key piece because I found this. Nobody knew what it was, but it is an interior model, and it allowed Stephen and Alex to, work. We worked together and figured out how these scenes you're going to see next actually occurred in the order. And the big missing puzzle piece was the bluish and yellowish piece at the top. That was not part of the ride, and that's what kept throwing us, because you can see the train track piercing the middle of that. And that scene out there was constructed as something that the train would view, and only the train. The reddish box, and the blue and reddish box, were the actual ride. Once we figured that out, there's just a small linkage below the black bar that got you from the front building to the back building, and those are the elements that comprise the ride that we're going to take you on now. All right, here we go. So this has audio, but please let us talk too so we can fill you in. But like all great Disney Mega E rides, it started in a cavern.
Yeah, the story beats are very similar to Pirates.
It was originally thought that taking a western to the east would be as exciting as taking an eastern Pirates of the Caribbean to the west. So that's why Mark created this, to bring the west east. But they were also mad down there, all the guests, when there was no pirate ride, that they made them build a pirate ride instead in Florida. So that was kind of the demise of Western River Ride. But as you moved into this caverns, you could begin to see shapes and forms in the various stalactites and formations there that kind of preceded or anticipated what you'd see later in the ride. This is the first panorama shot, and from this point on now we're going to drop down in and you're going to get pretty much by the beat ride through. Now this scene that opens it up did have an afterlife in the Land Pavilion in Epcot, so a little bit of this has found its way into various shows, which you'll probably recognize. We thought that the music you're hearing, which is in Take Up the Bill, would be an appropriate thing, so Stephen got it in there. And then it turned out that we found that footage there, just a brief bit of footage, where they actually did lay that in. Mark laid that in. So we were right on what they were thinking for this song during this sequence of events. Again, perfect staging. Mark Davis is the hallmark. Now this is the model. It was 1.5 inches to the foot, which means if you were a character in it, you'd be 9 inches tall for 6 feet high. So that is the biggest scale that we've ever done. And if I remember correctly, the model back in the early 70s was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which was incredible in those days. Again, this is from the footage that we did find a tiny bit of footage, very dark, but they had scored it to the song that you're hearing, so we guessed right, Mark. And again, combining the storytelling of Mark with the stylization of Mary and those rocks in the background is quite amazing. Now we're pulling into town, and again, this scene, I think Mark got a lot of this into the world of motion. Here's the winner. Now, we were at a loss for this music, and for those of you that are Epcot fans, I think you might be able to detect where we got it from. So everything about this ride kind of had a parallel to the characters and the setups that you know and love from Pirates of the Caribbean. And we're trying to, give you a left side of the track and a right side of the track, so they're kind of in sequence from left to right going through. Whereas if you were riding it, you'd be seeing both sides at the same time. You can see the staging. The reason that we still do models is, see, Mark set it up in the drawing this way, but when he got the model, he obviously saw ways in which he could improve that scene that he did in the drawing. You like that one? I wanted to put that on the train ride and take the dinosaurs out. I thought it'd be really cool, like, what is it, the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe from the Harvard Girls to do a big musical number as the train goes through. Medicine Man. We used him in Big Thunder in Florida. So we have the mixture wagon that caused the flash flood to happen. Now, as we turn the corner, if you imagine being in Pirates where the guys and girls are chasing one another, you turn the corner and go into the burning city. That's about where we are in the progress of the ride at this point, where it can occur into the shootout, which is going to set up
Shame.
get back to the other side of the street in that same scene. You got it. What's the prize?
To be free.
Well, you're not, we have to disqualify Roberta. Stacia knows what that song is from. Yep, great. Now the Indians start the storm in this scene, which then leads us into kind of a foreboding finale. I think they realized that the fun part of Pirates, with the waterfalls at the beginning, really should be sequenced to the end. Because if you remember the TV show, Walt showed us the waterfall at the end of the pirate ride, which was kind of a cheat. But in the Western River, you went up the hill here in the storm, coming up to this raging storm at the top. Lightning, thunder, the lightning strikes the trees and the entire forest kind of bursts into flame here for the finale. These guys had the duty, I think, of saying, "You come seek an adventure in cowboy country? Well, properly warned you be." And so what would, of course, happen at this point in the misty mist just beyond these guys was the biggest, longest, steepest waterfall in Walt Disney World to be. And down you went into the unload area, so everybody could watch that, which would have been really fun. Now, most of the things here, Disney is a company that we, of course,